What's the biggest secret you've been hiding from your partner? Story 1. I have a box of little crochet critters in the garage that I make when I'm bored / in between clients. I let my fiance know that if anyone at work would like one, she's a hospice nurse, she can just take them from the box. No questions asked. That's what I told her anyway. The secret is that I purposefully make stuff for her to take. I even have a little spreadsheet so I know what animals' colors are the most popular and make sure that there's always spares. Obviously, I don't know who they go to because of confidentiality, but I try to get as big a range as I can. Story 2. When he proposes to me, I have an engagement watch for him. My dad gave it to me a few months into dating him and said that I could do what I want with it. It's been 5 years and all I need is a nice box and ribbon. Story 3. As someone who absolutely hated dancing and always declined invitations to go dancing, I've learned the basic steps of bachata, which is her favorite dance. Not sure how long I'll keep it as a secret. I'm just waiting for the right moment to reveal this surprise. Story 4. When she first made a TikTok account, she spent hours doing hair and makeup, recording different little dances, skits, etc. But they weren't really taking off at all, and I could tell she was a little down about it. When she was asleep, I went onto her account and spent about $300, which isn't a small amount of money to me, to have her videos promoted and pushed to more people than they otherwise would. She woke up to thousands of followers, 10s of thousands of likes, and 100s of thousands of views. She was ecstatic, still has no idea, worth every cent. Story 5. I dislike their parents. They're perfectly decent people, but I find them unbearably dull, like to the point where spending any significant time with them is excruciating for me. Unfortunately, my partner is extremely close to their parents. It would break their heart to learn my feelings, I think. Story 6. I don't think his youngest son is his. The story about how this child came to be is very shady, between having his vasectomy reversal and how low he said his count is, combined with the fact that he caught the boy's mom cheating during the time they were trying, and how fast she came back with the paternity results. It all feels very wrong. 13 years later, when we are talking about his youngest, he always brings up how similar they look. I just agree. This kid looks nothing like him or his other two kids. My BF is 5'7", blue eyes, black hair with a lean build. The youngest is already over 6 feet tall, brown eyes, brown hair, and kinda chubby. His mom is very slim, blue eyes and blonde hair. He wanted to get them all 23 and me for Christmas. I talked him out of it. I think it would ruin Christmas for him if it came out. Story 7. The amount of times that those intrusive thoughts enter my mind, but my wife, she's one of the main things holding things together for me. I think of how tragic things would be if I actually followed through, so that always helps. I do that for everything, though. If not her, then my dog or my parents or my family and so on. Story 8. There's a shitload of custard, she loves custard, in the garage fridge that she doesn't check, and it'll always be topped up, and she'll never know because she never goes to that fridge, so there's effectively an eternal supply I deliver to her with various puddings. Story 9. The biggest secret that I've been hiding, and still continue to hide, is the fact that I won the equivalent of $7 million in the lottery. The money is deposited in a separate account to which only I have access. All correspondence related to it is directed to my company's address, etc. I trust my wife and I love her deeply, but I don't want to unsettle her. I've read so many stories about people losing their minds after winning a substantial amount of money. She believes that I earn a good salary. I still continue to work professionally, and I make every effort to ensure that we both have a respectable, normal life. Story 10. I want to marry him much sooner than I thought, but also, as an immigrant, I worry if bringing that up will raise any eyebrows and cause him or his family and friends to think that I want to do this to get permanent residence quickly. So I've been working extra hard to qualify for it on my own. Story 11. I don't like his pea and ham soup. I feel awful about it because he's a really good cook and meal prep them. I'm just so sick of them, and there's still a bunch in the freezer he wants me to eat. I've actually thrown a couple away and just bought lunch. I am going to try and eat them because I feel like a scumbag. Story 12. She almost left me for another man years ago, and I didn't find out until after she decided to stay. Not a day goes by that I don't fear she'll just disappear one day without me ever knowing something was wrong. Story 13. Toss-up between how much I drink during the week and my ED. We only see each other on weekends, so it's easier to hide, but I'm a little scared since we're taking a week vacation together in September. Story 14. I feel things deeply, and not a day goes by that Elle don't think about ending my life. I won't do it, but imagining it just gives me some relief. I'll guess Elle can't explain it. I don't tell my partner because Elle know they will say things will get better or that Elle am catastrophizing. So Elle keep it inside. Story 15. One of the biggest secrets I kept from my partner involved a time in my life before we met. A few years back, I was really struggling financially. I ended up racking up a significant amount of debt trying to stay afloat. By the time I met my partner, I was just beginning to get back on my feet, and I was too embarrassed to share how bad things had been. I'd always told myself I'd wait until the right moment to tell them, but as our relationship grew, so did my fear of their reaction. It wasn't just about the money. I was afraid they'd see me differently, as someone who didn't have it all together. I knew that honesty is key in a relationship, but I kept delaying the conversation, convincing myself that I'd tell them once things were more under control. The weight of that secret was heavy. Every time we talked about the future or made plans, I felt a pang of guilt, knowing I wasn't being completely transparent. There were close calls when I almost blurted it out, especially when we talked about big financial decisions, but I held back, worried about the fallout. Eventually, I realized that this secret was eating away at me, and it wasn't fair to either of us. The day I finally confessed, I was expecting anger or disappointment, but instead my partner just listened. They were more understanding than I could have imagined, and together, we worked out a plan to handle things. It was a huge relief, but I'll never forget how difficult it was to carry that secret, and how much easier it would have been if I had just been honest from the start. It taught me that in a strong relationship, it's better to face the tough conversations early on, rather than letting them grow into something bigger and more daunting. Story 16. My cancer is far more advanced than he thinks, but I don't want him to worry. Edit. There's only a slim chance of dying, luckily, but he's just not aware of the massive surgery I've lined up. He knows about the surgery, but not how big the operation is. If I were on the brink of dying, he would definitely be told. Story 17. That I see truff all their lies. My GF and I are in a happy relationship, but from the start, there have been things that I found out. Pretending to not find old chats, saying that she never liked to party, photoshopping her photos, posting bikini photos after she had told me that only I should see her that way weeks before, explaining high snap score with video snaps while she had saved lots. It's very frustrating to keep on seeing things she isn't honest about while trying your best and telling her that she can tell me anything, and I just want to get to know everything about her. I just try to ignore and forget now because they haven't had any actual impact on our relationship in real life. I know it's her fault, but eventually she did nothing serious and it's just stress in my mind. Story 18. I don't cook well. I have been part of the kitchen since my nan handed me a knife to chop onions at 7 years old. In my childhood home, no one messes with me cooking, and they do learn from me. My husband was brought up in a household of F&B people. Imagine Chinese restaurant kind of level food, and is on the spectrum, so he has his ways set up. No doubt he cooks way better than me, I admit. It's not that I don't know how to do things, but the way I do it is not according to him. It is a battle I choose not to fight and let him king the kitchen. I do cook for us time to time, and only the dishes he loves and can't replicate, even though I have taught him multiple times. But if he wants it, he's not welcomed while I whiff it up. Story 19. I saved hundreds of thousands in gold bullion that weathered 3 divorces. It started as a wedding present and instructions to keep it hidden for a rainy day. I kept adding to it, and over the years had a little more than $650,000 worth of gold by the time I divorced the 3rd time. We lived very poor for about 15 of those years and struggled through some pretty hard financial times, but I still kept adding to it. I was ready to buy our first house with it and surprise my wife, but everything fell apart. It wasn't great to begin with and been heading toward ruin for years. So she divorced what she thought was a poor man. I started 2 businesses and made some investments, and now I'm literally a millionaire within 2.5 years of the divorce. She still doesn't know. I kind of feel guilty because if I would have at least invested some of it decades ago, we wouldn't have struggled as much and could have not paid rent. But then she'd know about the gold and have half of something to take. As it is, we just split what was ours and called it good. But the guilt fades when I remember I paid for her entire bachelor's degree, so I don't feel too bad. I've never even been to college, and I paid for her to go just for her to not work, because it was too hard. She could have out-earned me for years, but just didn't want to. So no, I don't feel bad. Story 20. Our 10th anniversary is coming up in January. We got engaged 10 years ago last week with a ring that looks nice but was the best I could afford at the time. We're not wealthy, both educators, but we've moved up enough on our district's salary schedules and cleared out some bigger debts. So my 10th anniversary gift is a new ring that's about 5 times what the original cost, and looks it. 5 months until I can show her. Story 21. I have fallen out of love and don't like him. It helps that he has a traveling job. I have buried my resentment of his mistreatment and immaturity in my heart. I am with him because of kids. One of them had depression, and we are still sorting through it. Story 22. He is in AA. I told one friend about it. I needed someone to talk to. A week later, he said, BDW, don't tell anyone I'm doing this. I beg you. It's a sensitive topic, and I need to be the one to decide if and when we tell people. I felt awful and don't have the heart to tell him some friends know about it. Story 23. That I know my husband eats meat. Despite his insistence that he's vegetarian like me, I don't care. But it's cute that he doesn't think I know. I've been veggie for over 20 years. But one of his former coworkers told me he saw him eating pepperoni pizza, and ever since then I've noticed small meat escapades, and it's so adorable that I can't even call him on it because it doesn't matter to me, but I know he would be embarrassed, lol. Story 24. I know this says partner, but I read a comment from someone misreading that as parent, and I have a secret that I'm currently hiding from my parents. With that, I'm not sure if this belongs here. I just had a kidney removed, cancer, and I haven't told them yet, maybe never. I'm 53, and they're in their 80s. They don't need to know, but I'm concerned they find out because I've not keep it secret from everyone. The cancer is gone, as much as cancer can be gone. Everything removed, plus clear margins, plus no spread. And unless I get more shitty luck, I should be able to live a normal life with one kidney and lots of monitoring. In other words, they could live out their lives blissfully ignorant, like I was until 3 months ago. Story 25. That my insecurity is so painful and I feel like Lum screaming from the inside. I hide so many feelings about my insecurities all the time. Inside, I'm so convinced that I'm not good enough for anyone. Who could be with me and want that? I dated a few guys who just didn't like me but kept dating me. Does anyone like me? Outwardly, I do weird things like look away when we pass an attractive woman. And there's no amount of reassurance anyone can give me. It's me, all me. I'm a people pleaser to the max, and I'm so insecure that if I fall out with people, totally normal thing to do, I will obsess over how people don't like me because I'm not likable. It's a war in my head. He knows I'm insecure, but he knows a small fraction of what I feel. Story 26. That on our most recent trip to Vegas, and then back to her hometown, I've spoken with both of her parents. They're split, and she's renting space at the home her dad is renting to ask their blessing, which was granted to much joy and tears. She doesn't know that I'm planning on proposing before the end of the year as a way to end this year on the highest, best note as possible, and it's been a bit of a shit show of a year. Story 27. At the age of 34 YO with one daughter married for almost 7 years, I don't think I reached a climax. For years, he will always ask me if I'm done. And I always says yes, but in reality, I don't know. I just answered him yes to make him feel better. Recently, I'm done being a people pleaser. Started to think that I want to be happy and satisfied. And I want to experience a good sex right after I had a random dream with intense feeling down there. I didn't stop until I touched myself, rubbing it, and felt so good. But still and don't know if I finished or what. Ha ha ha. BTW, he is my first and only. I don't like touching myself. I tried to masturbate once in a while if I had an urge, but I didn't think I like it or IDK how to do it properly. For my huss, he's trying almost everything to satisfy me. But I guess the biggest factor is his penis is not getting hard enough. So after years of unsatisfied sex life, I started to avoid it as much as I can, just faking it. TW, I'm not ugly or unattractive, but I can say I lack experience too since he is my first and only. Please, no judgment. I'm new to this and new to sharing personal matter to me. Story 28. I don't have secrets. I trust him until he gives me a reason not to. So far, he hasn't. And if he does, that's on him. We talk about everything, good or bad. But I guess I'm still amazed that he stayed. I'm not the easiest person to be with. I'm not a bad person. I'm just not nice to be around. I'm not drop-dead gorgeous. I don't have a fabulous body. He's an absolute gem of a human being. And almost 15 years later, I'm still surprised that this man, who had options, chose me. I thought it would last like 6 months, at best. Story 29. From my ex-partner, I was hiding my face. It was an online relationship, in different countries but not so far away, and we still haven't met at that point. Before getting into the relationship, we were friends. After breaking up, we didn't speak ever again. But during the relationship, she has never seen my face, my body, or anything. She has only seen my hair and heard my voice, and she still somehow loved me. Story 30. Never been diagnosed, but it has been suggested that I am on the spectrum. She knows I get weird interests all of a sudden, and then suddenly they go away. What she doesn't know is how persistent and all-enveloping these weird interests are. It's like an earworm, but for more information. It wakes me up in the middle of the night and keeps me awake. It disrupts my daily life, and I hate it when I feel it come on. I always look forward to the day when I wake up and it's gone. One recent one was VOR navigation for small airplanes. I'm not a pilot. I've only ever flown as a passenger in big airplanes. Why I was obsessed over that for months escapes me. I ended up buying a gaming PC and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 just so I could scratch that itch of navigating using VOR only. I was flying for hours a day until one day I was free. So while she knows I sometimes have a sudden interest in weird things, so doesn't know how pervasive it is to my thoughts, how much I dislike it, and how much stress it causes me. Story 31. That I never actually wanted to be married. The sad part is that I never asked it to myself. I don't know myself and never really took the time to do so. I got so caught up in this is how life goes, and seeing her happy that I never thought to ask myself. I've also taken care of things for so long, and she relies on me so much because I've enabled that. I care about her, but I don't want to be with her anymore, and it sucks to speak that out loud. I have to tell her, but I worry so much because while she is capable, doing life herself stresses her out so much that making a doctor's apt is like asking her to do algebra. It will absolutely shatter her world. Part of me deep down feels like she feels it too and doesn't want to admit it. I was planning to tell her, and then boom, she had something happen with her health and now needs me around even more. Story 32. I'm secretly frustrated at how selfish my spouse is. I wait on her hand and foot in every way. Foot rubs, back rubs, gassing up her car for her before she leaves for work, getting her food drinks whenever she wants them, and even in bed, I make sure she comes first. But none of that is being reciprocated at all. I know a lot of you will say, just tell her, but it's not that easy. I don't know how to communicate this to her without offending her. Story 33. That I'm halfway checked out of the relationship. After 9 years, his porn addiction has destroyed me mentally, and I really can't find myself attractive anymore. I'm on a new path to loving myself after he promised he would change for the IDK how many times. And if he decides that porn is more important than my mental health again, I will be done with him. I'm tired of giving him chance after chance. I truly hope he realizes this is his last chance before he messes up and loses a woman that has truly loved him. Story 34. That I'm back in contact with my ex. We were together for about 10 years and broke up in 2021. I left because I couldn't cope any longer with his mental health. My ex sent me some money last year, which my current partner knows about, and I ghosted him because I was dealing with a cancer diagnosis and just didn't have the mental space. I reached back out a few months ago, post-cancer journey, to apologize and say thank you for the money. I've been to his house to speak to him face-to-face twice, and we've continued to exchange sporadic emails. Now I'm riddled with guilt on all fronts. Firstly, because my current partner doesn't know I'm in contact, but also because my ex is clearly struggling and I can't provide the support he needs. Story 35. That I slept with someone else. My boyfriend broke up with me after almost 2 years together. We got back together after a month and a half. During our breakup, I reconnected with an old college buddy of mine, old fuck buddy all throughout college, who wanted to fly in to see me. I explained that I would likely be back with my boyfriend by the time he was back in town and unable to see him. I ended up seeing him and sleeping with him after my boyfriend and I got back together. I feel bad about it, but I also know we would have never even reconnected if my boyfriend didn't try to end things. Also, my boyfriend knows that I was once pregnant and had an abortion as a teenager. He doesn't know that I was actually pregnant twice in the same year by 2 different people. The second was twice my age. Story 36. I love how most of the comments here are about hiding some happy/funny/sexy secret. Mine might be heavy. Disclaimer, TW, we have been together for 3 years. He knows that I was suicidal during our first year. However, he probably doesn't know that sometimes I called him because I was at the brink of doing something crazy. Also, I have hidden that I'm petrified of being cheated on to the extent that it is making me paranoid, and so I'm losing trusting in him little by little each passing day. I'm working on it, but I doubt I will ever tell him this.